Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media signing black and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So here goes the message. I'll get right to it and tell you the prediction I have. I think that Mrs. Wilson's not going to leave him. Now, first let me say that I'm not discussing them because I'm obsessed. I'm discussing them because they're public. Their lives are not necessarily like ours, financially speaking. They don't live like us. But this is a pattern that plays out in real life, and I said this before years ago. So I want you gentlemen to understand that when you say anything about this couple and you're not agreeing with Russell, she is going to come along and say, why are you even worried about it? Ain't your life. Why are you all up in their business, all up in their Kool-Aid? Like black women ain't obsessed with celebrities. They're going to ask you that. They're going to use that. You come out and you start to agree with his choices, and all of a sudden, they're not going to mention that anymore. All of a sudden, you're not obsessed. You're using that as an example and a love story and a fairy tale and justifying it. Do you see where I'm going with this? This effing sucks, but that's exactly what the work they're going to do. And you have every reason, no, every right to be terribly upset about them doing this and insisting on stuff like this. How dare they? How dare they sit up and take one tone because you agreed and take another one because they disagreed when it's regarding the same thing now? Some would say, yeah, but see, black mind, when you get argued with by somebody and they can't spell it correctly, you weaponize that against them. But when they agree with you and they're writing effing sucks, you don't do that. Well, the difference is if I know the person well enough, then we'll have that talk in private. There is one who is on my side with regard to these things. He has said that he's working on his writing and his speaking. I believe him. There are others who they come along and they argue, and I'm a bitter, in the closet black male that hates his mama and all that stuff, and they can't spell it correctly in their own first language, which usually is English. And I do weaponize that against them. We don't have the private conversation. They wanted to try to utilize their illiteracy against me, and so I went ahead and let them know, no, Nietzsche. Nope, sorry, Spear Chucker, doesn't work like that. So my prediction, though, was that it's not going to be her that leaves. And I'll tell you what my reason for it is. My prediction could be wrong. I've been wrong before, even about history. And I want to give a shout out to Abdallah. That means the two Abdullahs. But you can't pluralize the second half of that, which is Allah. So Abdallah, meaning the two of them, Abdullah Tayyib and Abdullah al-Amriki. When I make a mistake, they point it out so I can fix it. Then I can write in the about section of the video where the error was. Even if they don't know that I appreciate it, I do. But my reason for predicting this is that we have this information. We did not grow up with it, but because of us, there are groups of young men, boys and young men that are growing up with this information. So they get to have this in, and even though it may be heartbreaking, they're able to grow up with it, and they're desensitized to it at a younger age than us. And they say, well, it is what it is. So therefore, I don't have to be deluded. I don't have to be caught off guard. I don't have to be an easy target. Nothing personal. But what this means is, see, this information is out there now. If you look up Russell Wilson, chances are you're going to find, Russell Wilson before you finish typing in the search terms. It's going to be Russell Wilson simp, Russell Wilson cuckold, Russell Wilson stepdad. You see what I'm saying? And I want to point this out. I really don't believe that Russell Wilson knows that he's a simp. He's not a malicious simp. He is a practicing Christian. And in religious institutions in general, in which you have many black people, black men or otherwise, what you will find is that nobody's telling these young men what the wuck is going on, what the game is, how they're being targeted. No one tells them that. Russell does not know anything else, or he just learned. Now, he ain't got a whole lot of free time at this point, but he's going to have some free time even now, and later he will have even more free time. That's going to be when everything is going to last only as long as it takes for that one search and some time and quiet for him to digest the results of that search. And how often, if you're a public figure, how often are you going to not look up yourself? He's going to find it. He's going to type it in one day, Russell Wilson Simp. He's going to type in his name, and Simp is going to come up in search suggestions. What? Simp? What the wuck did I do? Russell Wilson cuckold. What did I do? Because he's an educated brother. He knows he'll know at least what cuckold means if he doesn't already know what simp means. And when he has time and quiet, that's when it's going to soak in and sink in. Oh, maybe I did request to meet Sierra, but the fact is she had a baby and she gave me a chance. What if she had not had Future's baby? Would she have given me a chance? Looks like no. From what they're saying, no. And from what they're saying, this is how I can tell. Well, hold up. Let me look up pictures of her with these exes. Oh, she doesn't pose with me like that. Damn. See, he's not necessarily a beta. He's not schooled on this. He wasn't raised with it. I know because of some similarities, but he wasn't raised with that. So he doesn't know what it means when she wants to play in his head and give him cute little hairstyles and then take a photograph and post it. He don't know what that means. Maybe he just learned it, but if he does know, he ain't known for a long time. He doesn't know what it means when she's got particular clothing she wants him to wear that he wouldn't have thought about before. He doesn't know what that means, but he will. That's going to be when things change. And at that point, either what's going to happen is, and she already knows that day is going to come if she doesn't keep him from having time to browse the internet, not post things on it, but browse it. So at that point, once that happens, either he's going to be the one to say, oh, well, I see the signs that she's just the same way, so I'm finna bounce. And he bounces. Or he says, oh, I'm going to keep an eye on her. And I'll bounce if I see those signs, but I haven't seen them yet. And she decides, I'm not going to provoke him. He probably knows what's going on, or he probably has some suspicion. So I'm not going to provoke him. I got a good thing going. I'm not going to ruin it. Even if I still got fantasies about guys like 50 Cent and Future, I'm not going to ruin this because he ain't done nothing to deserve that. And I don't want to be out there by myself and irrelevant. Or she says, you know what? I'm going to have to go back to being for them streets if I want to leave him, but I'll take that. It's worth it. Those are the options. So in any case, just understand that even paying attention enough to learn the lesson is something that the sisterhood does not want you to do. And it's not for any healthy reasons that they don't want you to do it. They don't mind you paying attention as long as you're using that to justify the fairy tale. They do mind you paying attention when you start to look at the realism of it and assess the real risk and say, I'm not taking those same ones. Then they change and they're not playing. And that's why they got one response when you pay attention and justify the fairy tale, and another response when you don't agree with his decision. Nobody is upset that he's in love with a black woman. That's not it. Nobody's really even upset, to be honest with you. It is his life. It's not going to affect our pocketbooks. But people do, men, and even aware women and mature women, have a right to be sick and tired of listening to these big old butterball land whale, nothing to offer having, multiple baby daddy having more baby daddies and kids having B words, sit up and wag their head and snap their fingers and talk about, girl, just because don't mean this, that, and the other. Just because you did this and made these mistakes don't mean you doomed. No, that's exactly what the hell it means. Men get doomed for far less. Just because he stopped growing in 9th grade instead of 11th does doom him to a certain extent. Just because he makes a normal amount of money and he ain't rich does doom him. Just because he doesn't understand women any more than any other man and ain't no one gonna tell him and he can't read their minds, he's now doomed. Yeah, just because of many things that are not the fault of the men, many men are doomed. Stop telling these women that just because of the mistakes they made, the bad decisions they made themselves, that they're not doomed. They are. They did it to themselves. She just got lucky. And what we're saying is we ain't even got that kind of money. So we're not interested in making the regular run-of-the-mill broad that lucky. For what? It ain't like she's going to respect us. I will say this too, though. I don't think that he's as big a simp as what many of us have thought. I watched the video when he said what he said about his biggest fear was losing her. He didn't actually seem terrified. He was very calm in the delivery of the message. And she blushed. So he may very well be a calm, level-headed romantic. It may very well be the case. Not necessarily experienced per se, but just calm and level-headed. He may very well be that. I don't think he's, I don't think he's whipped or anything like that as much as he is just unaware, just not been told. Because see, understand this. When his first wife cheated, he didn't do the so-called Christian thing and forgive her, his first ex. He dropped her. That's it. They ain't together no more. And they both left that marriage with no babies. So he's not one that actually takes crap. And Sierra does understand that much. Any woman that knows the situation knows that. Now, she may say there's a reason he cheated. I mean, there's a reason she cheated. That might be I do think that goes through her head. It goes through anyone's head. But he's not the one that just takes this stuff laying down. He's just not experienced enough to question everything. That's all. She may test him, but he doesn't know he's being tested. And to a certain extent, she may realize that. So at the end of the day, he's not a weak man as much as he's probably just unaware, sheltered. Don't sleep on that. When this information does hit him and he has time and quiet to let it soak in and really weigh it, because there are things we say sometimes that are wrong, but he has time to think objectively about it. Oh boy, it's going to be on and popping. And when that reaches him, I think the only way that their marriage is going to survive is if he can sit and say, she has not shown the signs that I'm just a utility. She hasn't shown those signs. That's not been it. But I'm going to keep an eye open just in case I miss something. And if she shows no signs, it's over. If he can see plain as day that it's a bad deal for him, just because he didn't see it at the time doesn't mean that he's going to stick around if he sees it later. No. He's not a pushover. He's not a punk. He's not intentionally or maliciously a simp. None of that stuff. He's certainly not a cuckold. It's not that person. I mean, not... Well, we can argue that too, because he's a stepdad, but stepdads are different from cuckolds usually. He doesn't allow that. No. If she does something or reaches out to her type, so to speak, in a way that cannot be argued and misunderstood as just a normal interaction, it can't be understood as anything else other than her reaching out and trying to get that, he's gone. I think people tend to forget. He's out. I mean, he knows that these men can't beat him up. So, that being said, I hope this helps. Thank you for listening. You know who it is, the blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Assalamu alaikum. And black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.